Typically, players with a low elo mindset learn the opening and then try to learn the middle game as a follow-up. You're the opposite of right. In order to improve your middle game, you need to study the end game. Because the goal of the middle game is to achieve a good position for the end game. And if you don't know what end game position is winning, how are you supposed to know what position you're trying to achieve during the middle game? But first let's talk about a meta problem. Strategy versus tactics. Strategy is your long-term plan for the game. Tactics are the specific moves, like finding a fork to win a piece. Chances are, the most important thing for your improvement are tactics. Strategy matters when you can play through an entire game without blundering and without missing simple tactics. Anyone under 2000 rating should put their main focus on improving the tactics. And only when you hit maybe 17, 18 or even 1900 rating, that is when you start to worry about strategy. And if you don't know what move to play, literally your only objective is to not blunder. So if you can be the guy who just doesn't blunder and also spots the opponent's blunders, you can easily become a very good chess player. So here are the basic middle game principles that actually matter. You can use these, but remember, whenever you feel like you need a complex strategy, just don't blunder. Principle 1. Endgames are usually open positions, simply because there aren't many pieces on the board. And in open positions, bishops can attack across the entire board. Bishops are usually better than knights. So in the middle game, you want to keep your own bishops and try to trade your knight for the enemy bishop. The next principle is about how to use your rooks. Rooks are extremely powerful in the endgame. This is called an open file because there are no pieces in the way. Let's look at a middle game position. What we see is a rook occupying an open file. And since white occupied it first, the black rook can't move here anymore. White can even go here, attacking a weak pawn. So it's important to occupy the open file early in the middle game before your opponent does. But even more importantly, they play a major role in supporting advancing pawns. Promoting a pawn is probably about the single most powerful tactic in endgames at all. Which brings us to our next principle. If your opponent has an advanced pawn, blockade it with the knight. You can use any other piece, but the best one for this purpose is the knight. There are many endgames with forced wins simply because of an advanced one. So make sure to block any advanced pawn in the middle game. Let's talk about pawn structures. Something that will completely ruin your endgames is called weak squares. It's a square that cannot be protected by your pawns. Like this one. You can't possibly move a pawn in a way that will defend this square. Your opponent can position a knight and you have no way of removing it. This absolutely ruins your endgame. So for the middle game, try to avoid weak squares. If you let your opponent push this pawn, for example, it will create a weak square. So just stop him. Another principle for your pawn structure. You should try to avoid isolated pawns. It's a pawn with no neighbor pawns who could protect him. This dude is very easy to defend, but this one is very difficult to defend in the endgame. Let's say you have a pawn structure like this at some point. If you take the pawn, you create an isolated pawn on your side. So maybe don't. The same goes for double pawns. They're always difficult to defend later. There are two more general rules of thumb. Number 1, pieces in the center occupy more space, which means higher chances of available tactics. There might be a cool tactic here, but probably not if the knight was over here. Number 2, and with this one, please don't get ahead of yourself. You want to push your pieces, especially your pawns, to occupy more space and obtain better positions for your pieces. But always make sure to stay safe and protect your advanced pieces. Remember the most important rule: do not blunder.